Environment. 5.1 Namami Gange Program, NGP. Why in the news? According to the latest projections on the Namami Gange Program, NGP, the installed waste treatment plants are capable of treating just 20% of the sewage estimated to be generated in the 5 major states that lie along the river. More on news. Times. The projection has also revealed that out of a total of 409 projects, only 232 projects have been completed and made operational till December 2022. About NGP. Times objective, integrated conservation mission to accomplish the twin objectives of effective abatement of pollution, conservation, and rejuvenation of River Ganga. O also covers its tributaries under one umbrella program. Times phases, O Namami Gange Mission I, 2014 to 2021. O Namami Gange Mission II, 2022 to 2026. Times key features. O type, Central Sector Scheme. O implementing agency, National Mission for Clean Ganga, NMCG, and its state counterparts, State Program Management Groups. Times key pillars, sewerage treatment infrastructure, riverfront development, river surface cleaning, biodiversity, afforestation, public awareness, industrial effluent monitoring, and Ganga. Times Gram. Times major states covered, Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, Jharkhand, Bihar and West Bengal. Times activities split into 3 segments or targets. O entry-level activities immediate, for visible impact. O medium-term activities, to be implemented within 5 years of time frame. O long-term activities, to be implemented within 10 years. Challenges faced by NGP. Times delay in implementation of projects, mainly due to factors such as delays in handing over land, delays in getting permission from the National Highways Authority of India, NHAI, and railways, etc. Achievements of Namami Gange Program. Times median value of dissolved oxygen, indicator of river health, has been found to be within acceptable limits as per survey in 2022. Times out of 1,072 grossly polluting industries, GPIs, 885 have been brought under Central Pollution Control Board's online continuous effluent monitoring stations, OCEMS. Other key initiatives for cleaning Ganga. Times Clean Ganga Fund. In 2014, it was formed to clean up the Ganga, set up waste treatment plants, and conserve the biotic diversity of the river. Times National River Ganga Basin Authority, NAGBA. It was constituted under the provisions of the EPA, 1986. It has been dissolved in 2016, consequent to constitution of National Council for Rejuvenation, Protection and Management of River Ganga, NCRPM, or National Ganga Council. O it is implemented by NMCG. Times ban on waste disposal. In 2017, the National Green Tribunal banned the disposal of any waste in the Ganga. Times collaboration with other countries, such as Australia, United Kingdom, Germany, etc. 66 www.visionias.inf.visionias. Times poor financial management. Only about 14,745 crore of funds have been released by NMCG to state governments, state missions for Clean Ganga, SMCG, and other agencies till June 2023. All states are dependent on the Centre for funds. Times inadequate sewage treatment, untreated sewage and substantial industrial effluents are still being discharged into the river or its tributaries. This is because of the absence of requisite functional treatment capacity. Times governance issues. There are a number of authorities at the state and the national levels which cause duplication of effort. There is a lack of coordination among agencies. Times lack of participation. Not much enthusiasm is shown by the private entities and civil society at large to take extra steps without being dependent on the government funds. Way forward. Times verification. The existing and planned sewage treatment plants, STPs, need to be verified on efficiency, reliability and technology parameters by independent agencies. Times revenue generation. Evolve new and innovative ways to generate sufficient revenues for operation and maintenance, O&M, of water and wastewater infrastructure through pricing and valuing water. Times restore local storages, ponds, lakes, wetlands. It should be an integral part of river restoration and conservation strategy. Times mapping and updating of land records. Map the entire looped length of each and every tributary of the Ganga and correct the land records. Or start restoring lower order streams and smaller tributaries in the Ganga basin. Times other strategies. Many of the strategies like river linking, riverfront development projects, access to toilets, making villages open defecation free, etc. need to be integrated with long-term ecological and sustainability goals. 5.2 ICBES Assessment Report on Invasive Alien Species and Their Control. Why in the news? Recently, the Intergovernmental Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services, ICBES, has released the Assessment Report on Invasive Alien Species and Their Control. 67 www. More on news. Times the report analyzes the extent of the threat posed by such species to various categories of biodiversity and ecosystem services. Or it assesses the effectiveness of current international, national and subnational control measures and associated policy options that could be employed to prevent, eradicate and control invasive alien species. About invasive alien species. Times invasive alien species represent a subset of alien species known to have established and spread with negative impacts on biodiversity, local ecosystems and species. Or alien species are animals, plants, and other organisms that have been introduced by human activities to new regions. Or all alien species are not invasive species. Times as per the report, invasive alien species are one of the 5 major direct drivers of biodiversity loss globally, alongside land and sea use change, direct exploitation of organisms, climate change, and pollution. Times common characteristics of invasive alien species include or rapid reproduction and growth or high dispersal ability or ability to adapt physiologically to new conditions or ability to survive on various food types and in a wide range of environmental conditions. Reasons for the growth of invasive alien species. Times lack of legislation. 83% of countries do not have national legislation or regulations directed specifically toward the prevention and control of invasive alien species. Or nearly half of all countries, 45%, do not invest in the management of invasive alien species. Times human activities. Many human activities facilitate the transport, introduction, establishment and spread of invasive alien species. Or it is estimated that, by 2050 the total number of alien species globally is expected to be about 36% higher than in 2005. Times global trade. There is a strong link between the volume of commodity imports and the number of invasive alien species in a region. Or increasing international trade of exotic plants and animals and the movement of people, including tourism, facilitate the spread of invasive alien species. Times climate change. Climate change facilitates the spread and establishment of many alien species and creates new opportunities for them to become invasive. Impact of invasive alien species. Times environmental damage. They have devastating effects on native plant and animal species, leading to human-wildlife conflicts. Invasive alien plants, especially trees and grasses, can sometimes be highly flammable and promote more intense fires. 68W or 60% of global extinctions have been caused, solely or alongside other drivers, by invasive alien species. Times food security. Invasive species are the major cause of crop loss and degraded soil quality. Times social impact. They negatively affect the autonomy, rights and cultural identities of indigenous peoples through the loss of traditional livelihoods and knowledge, reduced mobility and access to land, and increased labor to manage the invasive alien species. Or more than 2,300 invasive alien species are found on lands of indigenous peoples across all regions of Earth. Times health. Invasive alien species can serve as vectors for infectious zoonotic diseases that can lead to epidemics, such as malaria, dengue fever, chikungunya, Zika, yellow fever etc. Times economic burden. The global economic cost of invasive alien species exceeded $423 billion annually in 2019, with costs having at least quadrupled every decade since 1970. Way forward. Times effective management. Biological invasions and their adverse impacts can be prevented and mitigated through effective management of all pathways of introduction and spread of invasive alien species. Pathway management involves strictly enforced import controls, pre-border, border and post-border biosecurity, and measures to address escape from confinement. Or target invasive alien species at either local or landscape scales or site-based or ecosystem-based management. Times awareness. Public engagement with citizen science platforms or community-driven eradication campaigns can raise awareness and contribute to actions that reduce the threat of invasive alien species. Times integrated governance. There is a need for a context-specific integrated governance approach, involving complementary strategic actions such as enhancing coordination and collaboration across international and regional mechanisms, or developing and adopting effective and achievable national strategies, or sharing efforts and commitment and understanding the specific role of all actors. Times investment, capacity building and targeted investment in research, innovation and environmentally sound technology is required for the eradication of invasive alien species. 5.3 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Why in news? According to new research, the World Heritage Sites, WHSs, make up less than 1% of the Earth's surface, but they harbor more than 20% of the planet's biodiversity. Initiatives against invasive alien species. Times Target 6 of Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework aims to eliminate, minimize, reduce and or mitigate the impacts of IS on biodiversity and ecosystem services by 2030. Times Global Invasive Species Program, GISP. It was established in 1997 to address global threats caused by invasive alien species and to provide support to the implementation of Article 8H of the Convention on Biological Diversity, CBD. Or Article 8H of CBD calls to prevent the introduction of, control or eradicate those alien species which threaten ecosystems, habitats or species. Times Global Register of Introduced and Invasive Species, GRIES, presents validated and verified national checklists of introduced, alien, and invasive alien species at country, territory, and associated island level. Times Ramsar Convention ensured that the impact on wetlands from invasive species is prominently addressed. Times United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, UNCLOS. States are required to protect and preserve the marine environment from intentional or unintentional introduction of alien species. 69 www.visionias.info. More on news. Times research was conducted by United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, and the International Union for Conservation of Nature, IUCN. Times they are estimated to protect over 20,000 endangered species. Times WHSs have been referred as last line of defense against extinction, or played key role in protection of Javan rhinos, vacuitas, the world's smallest cetacean, and pink iguanas, or also protected Sumatran rhinos, Sumatran orangutans and mountain gorillas. About World Heritage Sites, WHS, and Convention. Times it is any of the areas or objects inscribed on the UNESCO World Heritage List. Times these sites are designated as having outstanding universal value under the World Heritage Convention of 1972. Times there are total 1,199 heritage sites under the convention, as of 27 September 2023. Times sites are selected under 3 categories, i.e. cultural, natural, and mixed. There are 42 World Heritage Sites in India. Out of these, 34 are cultural, 7 are natural, and 1 is of mixed type. Times World Heritage Convention. It has been adopted as convention concerning the protection of the world cultural and natural heritage. Principle recognizes the way in which people interact with nature, and the fundamental need to preserve the balance between the two. Parties and implementing agency, 195 state parties including India and World Heritage Committee. Strategic objectives, 5 Cs: credibility, conservation, capacity building, communication and communities. Why World Heritage Sites are unique in conserving biodiversity. Times covers wide horizon, deals with both natural, cultural heritage and mixed heritage sites. These are conferred the highest level of international protection, e.g., Kangchenjunga National Park of India. Times Regional Planning Program, RPP parties are encouraged to integrate the protection of the sites into RPP, e.g., National Biodiversity Strategies and Action Plans, NBSAPs. Times World Heritage Fund, it fulfills the urgent need during disasters or natural calamities. Times Reporting Mechanism, Convention stipulates the obligation on parties to report regularly to the World Heritage Committee, WHC, on the state of conservation of their World Heritage properties. E.g., in Kaziranga National Park, India, and Chitwan National Park, Nepal, the population of greater one-horned rhinos has been doubled since their inscription on the UNESCO World Heritage List. Times Public Participation, encourages states parties to strengthen the appreciation of the public to enhance protection through educational and information programs. Times Policy Action, facilitate dialogue between policymakers and World Heritage actors in the development and implementation of effective actions. Times Balance between nature and culture, strengthen the link between nature and culture, as many cultural sites, including those in urban areas, are promoting biodiversity. Challenges faced by World Heritage Sites. Times Decline in the population of the endangered species, either by natural factors such as disease or by human-made factors such as poaching, e.g. tropical rainforest heritage of Sumatra. Times Development Activities, it includes activities like construction of reservoirs which flood important parts of the property, industrial and agricultural development etc. Human encroachment also threatens the integrity of the sites, e.g. Lake Turkana National Parks in Kenya. Times Climate Change, every 1 degree Celsius increase in global temperature could double the number of species threatened by dangerous climate conditions. Due to it, migration pattern, food availability etc. have changed. Times Funding, World Heritage Fund is not able to fulfill need of all nations as many nations do not contribute on time. Times Armed Conflict, along with rising frequency of disasters, heritage sites face brunt of armed conflicts. E.g., UNESCO sites of Kyiv and Lviv are inscribed on the list of World Heritage endangered due to Ukraine-Russia conflict. 7. Times Other, nations modify the legal protective status of the area, severe deterioration of the natural beauty or scientific value, etc. Conclusion. WHS need to be given more protection and priority as they are playing key role in biodiversity conservation. It will play key role in achieving the target of Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. UNESCO About Times established in 1945 as a specialized agency of the United Nations to promote international cooperation in education, sciences, culture, communication and information. Times Membership, 194 members including India and 12 associate members. Times Structure, Secretariat, headed by Director General, implements the decisions of General Conference and Executive Board functions. Times Attaining quality education for all and promoting lifelong learning. Times Mobilizing scientific knowledge and policy for sustainable development. Times Addressing emerging social and ethical challenges. Times Fostering cultural diversity, intercultural dialogue and a culture of peace. Times Building inclusive knowledge societies through information and communication. Key Initiative Other Information. Times Man and Biosphere Program, MAB, 1971. MAB is an intergovernmental scientific program that aims to establish a scientific basis for the improvement of relationships between people and their environments. Times Budapest Declaration on World Heritage, 2002 adopted to ensure that the World Heritage Convention applies to heritage in all its diversity. It is an instrument for the sustainable development of all societies through dialogue and mutual understanding. Times UNESCO Strategy for Gender Equality in and Through Education 2019 to 2025. Times it is also a member of United Nations Sustainable Development Group, UNSC. Times all member states have established a National Commission for UNESCO. 5.4 Pacific Decadal Oscillation, PDO. Why in the news? According to a recent study, a combination of global warming and the Pacific Decadal Oscillation, PDO, could make cyclones more frequent in the coming years. More on news. Times also, both PDO and El Niño Southern Oscillation, ENSO, impact each other. Times scientists have also pointed the linkage of PDO and global warming. About PDO. Times PDO is a long-term ocean fluctuation in the Pacific Ocean. Times it has two phases, a cool or negative phase, characterized by a cool wedge of lower than normal sea surface heights ocean temperatures in the eastern equatorial Pacific, and a warm horseshoe pattern of higher than normal sea surface heights connecting the north, west and southern Pacific, refer to image. O warm or positive phase, it is reverse of cool phase. In it, West Pacific Ocean becomes cool and the wedge in the east warms. 71 WW. Times it waxes and wanes approximately every 20 to 30 years. However, in the recent time, the warm and cold phases have been much shorter. Why PDO enhances the frequency of cyclones? Times negative PDO along with La Nina phase creates suitable condition for the tropical cyclones. Times in 2019, the PDO entered a cooler or negative phase. If it remains so, it could mean more tropical cyclones in the post-monsoon months that originate near the equator. The number of equatorial origin cyclones was 43% fewer in 1981 to 2010 compared with 1951 to 1980. Because the PDO was in a warmer or positive phase. Times it's usually rare for cyclones to form near the equator due to the absence of Coriolis force, but when the waters are warm, they can gain more moisture and rise in intensity. Relation between PDO and El Niño Southern Oscillation, ENSO. Times climate impacts experienced during a PDO event can go hand in hand with impacts of ENSO. If both phenomena are in the same phase, their associated impacts can be amplified. Times impact on Indian monsoon, ENSO, El Niño phase, with a positive PDO is generally not good for the Indian monsoon. When ENSO, in La Nina phase, is linked with a negative PDO, it intensifies monsoon in India. Relation between PDO and global warming. Times it is thought that negative phases could be linked to times of slower warming. Times this happens because cold or negative phases of the PDO tend to increase mixing of colder, deep ocean waters with warmer surface waters. This temporarily reduces the rate of global warming caused by increasing greenhouse gas emissions. Times, however, positive phases of PDO have the opposite effect, i.e. increases the global warming. Conclusion. PDO is a complex phenomenon. It impacts region ranging from USA to India. Due to climate change and other related events such as ENSO, its cycle has changed in the recent time. Still, research is going on to understand its different dimensions. Related news, marine heatwaves, MHWs, times long-term, persistent warming and discrete periods of extreme regional ocean warming is called MHWs. Indian Ocean, Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal experienced it recently. Times causes. It occurs when the surface temperature of a particular region of the sea rises to 3 or 4 degrees Celsius above the average temperature for at least 5 days. El Niño has contributed in its occurrence. Times key characteristics. MHWs can last for weeks or even years. They can affect small areas of coastline or span multiple oceans. MHWs have increased by 50% over the past decade and now last longer and are more severe. Times impacts. Marine ecosystems, deaths of several marine species, alter their migration patterns, lead to coral bleaching and even impact weather patterns. Humans, can make storms stronger and severely affect coastal communities. These make hurricanes and tropical cyclones stronger, more intense and frequent. Precipitation, due to its presence in the Bay of Bengal, northwest India received sufficient rainfall. About ENSO times. Though ENSO is a single climate phenomenon, it has 3 states or phases, which are as follows. El Niño, a warming of the ocean surface or above average sea surface temperatures, SST, in the central and eastern tropical Pacific Ocean. It leads to drought and deficient rainfall in Asia. Due to it, recently global monthly mean ocean temperatures has raised at an all-time high relative to temperatures since records started to be kept. La Nina, a cooling of the ocean surface or below average sea surface temperatures, SST, in the central and eastern tropical Pacific Ocean. Neutral, neither El Niño or La Nina. Often tropical Pacific SSTs are generally close to average. 72 www.visionias.inf.vision 5.5 News in Shorts. 5th May 2001 Breakthrough Agenda Report 2023. Times jointly released by International Energy Agency, International Renewable Energy Agency, and UN Climate Change High-Level Champions. Times it is an annual progress report, requested at UN Climate Change Conference COP26 2021 as part of the launch of the Breakthrough Agenda. Breakthrough Agenda is an action plan that aims to align actions and coordinate investment across 5 key sectors viz. Power, road transport, steel, hydrogen, and agriculture. Times key findings. Transition to clean energy sustainable solutions is accelerating. Countries' nationally determined contributions are not aligned with global climate goals. Power sector accounts for 23% of total emissions, which has risen by around 10% since 2010. Times sector-wise recommendations. Power sector, prioritize R&D investments in storage and distributed operation of energy resources. Hydrogen, define regulatory frameworks for storage technology transfer and increase concessional finance available for well-targeted usages. Road transport, agreed on a timeline for zero emission and established standards for battery carbon footprint. Steel, establish a dialogue on steel decarbonization policies and make an emissions accounting methodology. Agriculture, additional finance is needed for agroecology, reduction of food loss and waste, reducing methane emissions, and crop and livestock breeding. 5th May 2002 UNDP launches National Carbon Registry. Times United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, launched the National Carbon Registry. Times National Carbon Registry is an open source software that allows countries to effectively manage national data and processes for trading carbon credits. It has been accredited as a digital public good, DPG, and can be integrated with national measurement, reporting and verification, MRV, systems to meet international reporting requirements. Times National Carbon Registry will promote development of carbon market by facilitating trading of carbon credits. Article 6 of Paris Agreement allows countries to voluntarily cooperate with each other to achieve emission reduction targets set out in their nationally determined contributions, NDCs. Times carbon markets are trading systems in which carbon credits are sold and bought. Or companies or individuals can use carbon markets to compensate for their greenhouse gas emissions by purchasing carbon credits from entities that remove or reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Or one tradable carbon credit equals 1 ton of carbon dioxide or the equivalent amount of a different greenhouse gas reduced, sequestered or avoided. Or carbon trading was introduced by Kyoto Protocol in 1997. Times in India, Ministry of Power notified Carbon Credits Trading Scheme, CCTS, 2023 for institutionalization and functioning of Indian carbon market, ICM. 5th May 2003 Technical Report on the Global Stocktake. Times the first Global Stocktake Technical Synthesis Report released by the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC. Times the Global Stocktake, GST, aims to serve as a report card on the progress of countries under the 2015 Paris Agreement in achieving their climate action goals. Or the Global Stocktake is intended to evaluate progress on climate action at the global level, not the national level, and identify overall gaps to achieve the Paris Agreement as well as opportunities to bridge them. Times key finding of the world is not on track to meet the long-term goal of limiting global temperatures to 2 degrees Celsius. 73 WW or renewable energy has to be scaled up and all unabated fossil fuels, coal plants without carbon capture and storage mechanisms were to be rapidly eliminated to reach net zero CO2 emissions. Or more ambitious mitigation targets in NDCs, nationally determined contributions, are needed to reduce emissions more rapidly. Or transparent reporting on adaptation can facilitate and enhance understanding, implementation and international cooperation. Or support for adaptation and funding arrangements for averting, minimizing and addressing loss and damage from the impact of climate change, needed to be rapidly scaled up from expanded and innovative sources. Or a focus on inclusion and equity can increase ambition in climate action and support. Or strategic capacity building support to developing countries needs to be scaled up to address locally determined needs. 5th May 2004 Swachh Vayu Sarvekshan. Times recently, Swachh Vayu Sarvekshan 2023, Clean Air Survey, awards were announced. Times Swachh Vayu Sarvekshan is an initiative by the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, MoEFCC, under the National Clean Air Programme, NCAP. NCAP has been launched by the MoEFCC as a comprehensive initiative in partnership with various ministries and states to improve air quality at city, regional and national level. Times objectives of Swachh Vayu Sarvekshan or to create awareness among all sections of the society or to create awareness among all sections of the society or to create awareness among all sections of the society or inform citizens about the health impacts related to exposure. Or comparing air quality conditions at different locations cities or to achieve the goal of NCAP, clean air for all. Times all 131 cities covered under NCAP are required to do the self-assessment as per the framework provided on the Prana online portal, dashboard to capture the progress of the NCAP program. Or 131 cities are categorized into 3 groups based on population. Or better performing cities, i.e., the top 3 cities in each category, are rewarded with a cash prize, trophy and certificate. Or in Swachh Vayu Sarvekshan 2023 Indore ranked first in 1 cent category, million plus population, Amravati ranked first in 2 ND category, 3 to 10 lakhs population, Pavanu ranked first in the 3 RD category, less than 3 lakhs population. 5th May 2005 Building Materials and the Climate. Times, Building Materials and the Climate, Constructing a New Future, report was released by the United Nations Environment Programme, UNEP. Times it highlights the urgent need to develop new models for cooperation on decarbonization of building materials. Our report was developed in collaboration with Yale Center for Ecosystems and Architecture in the framework of the Global Alliance for Buildings and Construction, Global ABC. Times decarbonization of buildings refers to removal or reduction of carbon dioxide, CO2, emission into atmosphere. Times need to decarbonize building construction sector. Or it is responsible for at least 37% of global emissions, largest emitter of greenhouse gas. Or to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius, Paris Agreement, and achieve net zero by 2050 by reducing embodied carbon in building materials. Embodied carbon account for 11% of annual global GHG emissions arising from manufacturing, transportation, installation, maintenance, and disposal of building materials. 74 www.visionias.inf.visionias.in Copyright symbol Vision IS. Times challenges in decarbonization of building construction sector or regulation and market demand. No consensus exists on building specifications, standards and codes. Or lack of data on durability and resilience of materials and its impact on embodied carbon. Or lack of capacity in data collection and reporting of material changes, maintenance and repair that have occurred in a building over time. 5th May 2006 Central Empowered Committee, CEC. Times Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, MoEFCC, forms CEC on environmental issues. MoEFCC, exercising power under the Environment Protection Act, 1986, constituted a permanent statutory CEC. The permanent CEC will replace an ad hoc CEC formed in 2002 for monitoring the implementation of SC's order in TN Godavarman vs. Union of India, 1996. Ad hoc CEC has been reporting to SC on steps taken for removal of encroachment, compensatory afforestation, and other conservation issues. Times key highlights about CEC composition: Chairman and 3 expert members selected for 3 years, extendable once up to age of 60. Chief Coordinating Officer, a serving officer not below rank of DIG of Forests Director in GOI. All of them should have experience in environment, forest and wildlife functions, monitor implementation of SC's orders and place reports of non-compliance before the center. Deal with any applications made by 5th May 2007 Global 5th May 2000 Deal with any applications made by any aggrieved person. Jurisdiction, whole country deferment of state. If the state differs from CEC's recommendation, it shall be referred to the center whose decision shall be final and binding. Times concern, lack of representation from civil society, ad hoc panel comprised of 2 members of NGOs. 5th May 2007 Global Trends on Land Degradation and Drought. Times data released by the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification, UNCTAD. UNCTAD is the sole legally binding international agreement for sustainable land management. Times key findings. Between 2015 and 2019, at least 100 million hectares of land were degraded every year, amounting to 402 million hectares in 4 years. It impacted the lives of 1.3 billion people. At this rate, restoring 1.5 billion hectares of land by 2030 is essential to achieve a land degradation neutral (LND) world. Times reasons: extreme weather conditions, drought, excessive use of fertilizers and pesticides, salination, climate change, etc. Times LDN is a state whereby the amount and quality of land resources necessary to support the ecosystem to enhance food security remain stable or increase within specified temporal and spatial scales. 75 www. Times earlier, UNCTAD has released a 2018-2030 strategic framework that focuses on mitigate, adapt and manage land degradation, mobilize financial and non-financial resources, improve the condition of land degradation through participation. 5th May 2008 Ecocide. Times ecocide refers to unlawful or wanton acts committed with knowledge that there is a substantial likelihood of widespread or long-term damage to environment being caused by those acts. Arthur Galston, in 1970, was first to link environmental destruction with genocide when referring to use of Agent Orange, a herbicide, by US during Vietnam War. Times ecocide is currently recognized as a crime in several countries. Times though used in certain cases as references by courts, India is yet to make it an offense. 5th May 2009 Extreme water stress. Times new data from World Resources Institute, WRI, a global research organization, shows that 1/4 of the global population faces extremely high water stress. 25 countries, including India, face extremely high water stress each year. A country facing extreme water stress means it is using at least 80% of its available supply. High water stress means it is withdrawing 40% of its supply. Times other key findings: 50% of world's population live under highly water-stressed conditions for at least 1 month of the year. 31% of global GDP will be exposed to high water stress by 2050. India, Mexico, Egypt and Turkey will account for over half of exposed GDP in 2050. 60% of world's irrigated agriculture faces extremely high water stress. Causes of global water stress: increased water use, lack of investment in water infrastructure, unsustainable water use policies, increased variability due to climate change, etc. Times recommendations: improve water governance through nature-based solutions and green infrastructure. Consider programs like Debt for Nature swaps for a commitment to invest in mangrove restoration or wetland conservation. Switching to water-efficient crops or using methods like sprinkler or drip irrigation versus flooding fields. Cities should develop urban water resilience action plans. 5th May 2010 Atlantification. Times Atlantification is making the Arctic Ocean saltier and warmer. Times Atlantification is a process in which warm water from Atlantic is being advected into Arctic Ocean in increasing amounts, thereby making some parts of Barents Sea to more closely resemble the Atlantic. Top of the Arctic Ocean is typically covered by sea ice. Below this is a layer of cool fresh water, followed by a deeper layer of warmer, saltier water delivered to Arctic from Atlantic. All layers are held in place as a result of differences in water salinity and thus protects sea ice from being melted by incoming warm water from Atlantic. Times, however, rapid decline in Arctic ice covers in recent decades is causing the ocean to mix together and also driving Atlantification. Once sparked, Atlantification causes further melting of sea ice, which could, in turn, lead to more Atlantification. Times researchers believe that Atlantification is driven by a process called Arctic dipole, which is associated with anticyclonic winds over North America and cyclonic winds over Eurasia, which alternates in an approximately 15-year cycle. Positive phase of Arctic dipole contributed to slowing Arctic sea ice loss by restricting Atlantic water into the Arctic via the Fram Strait, and negative phase accelerates sea ice decline. 76. 5th May 2011 Artificial Reef, AR. Times Department of Fisheries is promoting AR under Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana for rejuvenating coastal fisheries. Times ARs are technology interventions used to rehabilitate or improve natural habitats, increase productivity and manage aquatic resources including habitat enhancement. Times advantages: reduce wave damage on coasts, helps regeneration of marine ecosystem and act as a carbon sink. Enhance recreational fisheries, ecotourism, creating suitable areas for diving and reducing conflicts. Restricts bottom trawling in the near shore areas. 5th May 2012 Electrified Flex Fuel Vehicle, FFV. Times world's first prototype of the BS6 Stage 2 Electrified Flex Fuel Vehicle, FFV, launched. This vehicle has both the flex fuel engine as well as an electric powertrain. It offers higher use of ethanol combined with better fuel efficiencies. Times FFV has an internal combustion engine that can run on more than one type of fuel, or even a mixture of fuels such as petrol and ethanol. Or for example, E85 which has 85% ethanol fuel and 15% gasoline or other hydrocarbon by volume. O benefits, lower harmful pollutant emission like carbon monoxide, sulfur, etc., reduced import dependence on crude oil. O drawbacks, lower mileage compared to traditional gasoline, use of water-intensive crops such as sugarcane for production of ethanol, etc. Times Bharat Stage 6, BS6. O Bharat Stage, BS, emission standards are laid down to regulate the output of air pollutants from internal combustion engine and spark ignition engine equipment. O government had decided to leapfrog directly from BS4 to BS6 emission norms WEF April 01, 2020. O the fuel quality has improved significantly from BS4 to BS6 norms by reducing the permissible sulfur content by 80%, from 50 parts per million, ppm, to maximum 10 ppm. Ethanol blended petrol, EBP, program times the target of 10% ethanol blending for ethanol supply year, ESY, 2021 to 22 has already been achieved. Times the National Policy on Biofuels 2018 targets 20% blending of ethanol in petrol by ESY 2025 to 26. 5th May 2013 Marine light pollution. Times according to a study by journal Aquatic Conservation marine light pollution threatens coastal marine systems. Times light pollution also known as artificial light at night, ALAN, is an excessive, misdirected, or obtrusive artificial, usually outdoor, light in the environment. Times sources of light for marine ecosystem, or natural sources sunlight, moonlight, starlight, and bioluminescent light, result of endogenous biochemical reactions. Or artificial light, city lights, by offshore oil and gas platforms, wind farms, and island development. Times significance of light for marine ecosystem. O ocean is generally divided into 3 zones based on the amount of sunlight it receives, i.e., euphotic. O marine organisms have visual systems guided by light and solar and lunar cycles to regulate their life events, e.g., eggs hatching, etc. Times impacts of ALAN. O behavior change mating, reproductive. 77W. O symbiosis or interspecies interaction impacted. O physiology E.G hormones, metabolism and growth. O photosensitive systems of species get disturbed. 5th May 2014 Delhi Framework on Farmers' Rights. Times Global Symposium on Farmers' Rights, GSF, adopts the Delhi Framework on Farmers' Rights. GSF was organized by Secretariat of International Treaty on Plant Genetic Resources for Food and Agriculture, ICFA, or Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO. PIGFA are the raw material that form basis of all crop varieties and include seeds and all other plant genetic material. Times key highlights of Delhi Framework, creating functional synergy across different UN instruments, ICFA, CBD, United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, UNDRIP, etc., for realization of farmers' rights. Established support farmer-managed seed system for traditional varieties and create self-sustaining production and marketing value chain. Building farmer-centric partnership opportunities including South-South, triangular and regional cooperation. Times ICFA, also known as Seed Treaty, is a major international agreement to conserve, use and manage PIGFA around the world. It is a legally binding agreement that was adopted in 2001 and entered into force in 2004. India is a party. ICFA makes it possible to share plant genetic resources across borders through a unique multilateral system of access and benefit sharing, MLS. Times India has enacted the Protection of Plant Varieties and Farmers' Rights Act 2001 to safeguard interests of farmers and other peoples who are engaged in the conservation and improvement of plant genetic resources. 5th May 2015 Norman Borlaug Field Award for Field Research and Application. Times Dr. Swati Nayak, an Indian scientist at International Rice Research Institute, IRI, was named the recipient of the prestigious award in 2023. She is recognized for her innovative approach to engaging smallholder farmers in demand-driven rice seed systems and adoption of climate-resilient and nutritious rice varieties. Times $10,000 award recognizes exceptional, science-based achievement in international agriculture and food production by an individual under the age of 40. Endowed by Rockefeller Foundation. 5th May 2016 Walking leaves. Times an international research team has described 7 previously unknown species of leaf insects, Felidae family, also known as walking leaves. Times about walking leaves, they are usually green insects and are known for their leaf-like appearance. Distribution, islands in the Indian Ocean, across parts of mainland South Asia and Southeast Asia, to Papua New Guinea and Australia in the Western Pacific. Males tend to be smaller than females. 5th May 2017 Kailingchjangi. Times researchers have investigated a nearly 520-million-year-old fossil of Kailingchjangi, found in China. New findings revealed that Kailingch sported 3 eyes on its head, along with a pair of claws that was possibly used to catch prey. 78 Times the fossil is part of the Cambrian Changjiang biota, a group of exceptionally preserved animals. Times Kailingch is related to the arthropods. 5th May 2018 Mithun. Times Food Safety and Standards Authority of India has recognized the Mithun, Bos frontalis, as a food animal. Times food animals are those that are raised and used for food production or consumption by humans. Times about Mithun species, ruminant species of Bovidae family. Habitat, Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur, and Mizoram. Also found in parts of Bangladesh, Myanmar, and Bhutan. O state animal, of both Arunachal Pradesh and Nagaland. O similar to that of Gaur, Indian bison, but are smaller in size. Times categorization can help check its declining population. Times earlier in 2022, Himalayan yak was accepted as a food animal by FSI. 5th May 2019 Pterygia trigla intermedica. Times scientists of Zoological Survey of India have discovered a new species of marine fish from West Bengal. Times new species, commonly known as gonids or sea robins, belongs to family Triglydidae and there are a total 178 species of the family worldwide. O they have a very long and slender opercular spine and a short collateral spine. O its distinct characteristics include a distinct pectoral fin with black membranes on the inner surface, a white posterior margin, and 3 small white spots basally in the fin. 5th May 1920 Red fire ant. Times red fire ant, one of the world's most invasive species, has been found in Europe for the first time. Times native, South America however, spread in United States, Mexico, the Caribbean, China, and Australia. Times communication, through chemical secretions and stridulation, sounds produced by rubbing or drumming one body part against another. Times invasive species drive plant and animal extinctions, threaten food security and exacerbate environmental catastrophes. 5th May 1921 Sago. Times Sagoserve, a cooperative society, received GI tag for its sago produced in Salem, TN. Times sago is derived from raw tapiocas and is in the form of small hard globules or pearls and is pearl white in color. O tapioca is a horticultural crop that grows in tropical, warm humid climate with rainfall of over 100 centimeters per annum. Times sago comprises of high carbohydrate content and is low in protein, fat, minerals, vitamins etc. Times it is easy to digest and provides rapid energy. 5th May 1922 Agumbe forest. Times the amount of rainfall received in Agumbe has reduced as compared to the other towns in the region. Times Agumbe is in the Shimoga district of Karnataka and referred as Cherrapunji of South India, with an average rainfall of 8,000 mm. It is situated at an elevation of 650 meters within central Western Ghats and has a distinctive tract of tropical moist evergreen forest. It is also located adjacent to the Someshwara Wildlife Sanctuary and the Kudremukh National Park. Times it is the world's only natural habitat of the king cobra and referred to as the cobra capital. 79 WW. 5th May 1923 Siang River. Times the center has proposed to construct a large barrage on the Siang River to protect it from potential hazards posed by the massive Chinese dam being built on river Zangpo in Tibet. Times China's proposed massive hydropower project on the Great Bend of Yaleng Zangpo River just before the river enters India as Siang. The Yaleng Zangpo River starts from Mansarovar Lake and flows easterly for more than 1,600 kilometers across Tibet before bending towards the southeast around Namcha Bawa Peak to enter India at Jeling in Arunachal Pradesh, where the river is known as Siang. The Siang flows down the Himalayas in Arunachal Pradesh, enters the Assam Valley, joins 2 other rivers, Lohit and Dibang, and together they become the Brahmaputra. Times impact of China's mega dam project. Chinese control overflow. Chinese authorities will have control over the Zangpo's flow, enabling them to store it in reservoirs and redirect it to suit their regional water management needs or agriculture. Such a huge dam could hold back massive amounts of silt carried by the river which could affect farming in the areas downstream. Silty soil is more fertile than other types of soil and it is good for growing crops. Seismological impact. Large-scale infrastructure projects elevate seismic risks, endangering downstream populations significantly. Ecological impact. Deforestation, soil erosion, and landslides compound ecological vulnerabilities. 5th May 1924 Omega blocking. Times according to a study, recent floods in the Mediterranean regions were caused by low-pressure systems forming around an omega block centered over the Netherlands. Times omega block occurs when 2 low-pressure systems become cut off from the main flow of the jet stream, sandwiching a high-pressure system between them. Times it resembles the Greek letter omega on a weather map. Times omega blocking events have also been linked to other extreme weather events in the past, including Pakistan floods in 2011, 2019 heat waves during May in France and July in Germany etc. 5th May 1925 Kilauea volcano. Times Kilauea volcano has erupted again in US state of Hawaii. Times Kilauea aka Mount Kilauea, the world's most active volcanic mass, is located on southeastern part of island of Hawaii, Hawaii state, US. Times volcano is a vent in the crust of earth, from which eruptions of molten rock, hot rock fragments, and hot gases take place. 5th May 1926 earthquake in Morocco. Times earthquake is caused by to release of energy within the earth's lithosphere generating waves. Times epicenter, located in the Atlas Mountains. Times reasons for the strongest earthquake in this region. Northward convergence of the African plate with respect to the Eurasian plate along a complex plate boundary. It was attributed to oblique rivers faulting at shallow depth within the Moroccan High Atlas mountain range. This type of faulting is common in areas of compression along the convergent plate boundaries. 80 www.visionias.inf.visionias.in Copyright symbol Vision IS. 5th May 1927 Arogya Metri Cube under Project Vision. Times India has built the world's first disaster hospital, called Arogya Metri Cube, which can be airlifted and assembled in 72 cubes. These cubes contain medical equipment and supplies to support 200 survivors for 48 hours. These medical cubes have been indigenously developed under Project Vision, Bharat Health Initiative for Sahyog Hita and Metri. India has already donated 2 Arogya Metri cubes to Myanmar as a goodwill gesture and one is being readied for donation to Sri Lanka. 81 W